What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. I apologize. We didn't get to have a live stream last week, and I'm not going to be able to do a live stream tonight. So I did want to get out a preview for tonight's game against the Buccaneers. So if you're watching this before the game, welcome. Hopefully the Ravens are able to win. If you're watching this after the game, you can still watch. I'll talk about some things that aren't just relating to the Buccaneers, but I'll have another video out tomorrow afternoon, which would be Tuesday afternoon. That'll be kind of recapping the game. I apologize for the lack of live streams. Joshua and I are trying to get our schedules aligned, have been struggling to do so, but want to get back to at least just posting videos to talk about the games, because wasn't able to really talk about the huge win against the Commanders last week, which was a lot of fun. Obviously, the Ravens were able to outduel Jaden Daniels and, get to 4-2. But now it's on to this week. It's on to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is a 4-2 matchup between two teams that are on the rise, two teams that were, playoff teams last year, and two teams that, I think are looking to win their division and try and make a playoff run once again. And two quarterbacks that have played against each other and known each other for a very long time. Baker Mayfield, obviously being a former Cleveland Brown, and then, in the Heisman race with Lamar Jackson back in the day. But when I'm looking at this game and I'm looking at the Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, two things stand out. The Ravens defense, what they need to do, and then what the Bucks defense need to do, and vice versa. So let's start with the Ravens defense. How do you slow down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Well, unfortunately for the Ravens, it's not their specialty this year, and it's slow down the passing game. Mike Evans is obviously an elite wide receiver. We all know it. Every year of his career, 1,000 yards. There's no question denying how good Mike Evans is. But Chris Godwin has also been very competent this year. He's been the leading receiver, around 80 yards a game. He has 5 touchdowns. And the Ravens need to make sure that they have someone on him, and they're not just putting Roquan Smith or Trenton Simpson on him, because he's going to feast. Right? He's similar to what Rashee Rice was able to do against the Ravens when we just kept putting guys like Tyus Bowser. We put, not Tyus Bowser, guys like Malik Harrison. We put Kyle Van Noy on him. We put, just an abundant amount of players that should not be covering a, very good wide receiver. We just kept putting him on Rashee Rice, and he was able to dominate this Ravens defense. In this game, we have to make sure that we're not just throwing our linebackers on him, because if we do, he's going to kind of just completely dismantle our defense, right? The Bucks have a good quarterback. They have a good enough offensive line to get him the football. They need to make sure that they have someone in coverage, because Chris Godwin, even if he is covered, he can make the tough catches. The other thing is Mike Evans. We cannot give Mike Evans one-on-one on the sideline because of how good he is in those types of situations. Because when you look at what happened last week with Terry McLaurin's one of the best contested catch makers, back shoulder, sideline players in the league, big body wide receivers. Mike Evans is probably the best. So it's like we're playing now a better version of the guy that dominated Brandon Stevens last week. And Brandon Stevens was in one-on-one situations with Terry McLaurin all game long, and they just kept throwing to him because Brandon Stevens, unfortunately, is reverting to his ways of not getting his head around and trying to break up the pass, which is fine, except when you're playing against players like Mike Evans, like Terry McLaurin, these guys that are just going to be able to just moss you all day long. That's when it starts to get tricky. That's when it starts to get difficult. So you really need to make sure that you have someone helping so that they don't just, throw to Mike Evans on the sideline all game long, because believe me, if Baker spots that matchup, he's probably going to be targeting it from the get-go. On the other side of the ball, what the Ravens offense needs to focus on, as well as, if you want to look at it from a Bucs fan's perspective, what does the Bucs defense need to do? It all starts with Vita Vea. Vita Vea is one of the best zero techs or one techs in the NFL. He's absolutely massive. He's a great nose tackle. Was like the first guy we ever saw like beat the tush push against the Philadelphia Eagles. He is a force to be reckoned with, and he's done very well against our center, Tyler Linderbaum, in the past. So we need to make sure that we're not letting him game wreck, which means, try and get a little bit more on the outside. We obviously love those pitches. We love those, those crack tosses, but let's get some stretch. Let's get some power. Let's just make sure that we know where Vita Vea is at all times. And the other thing is this Bucs secondary. They're going to be doing probably the same thing that the Commanders were doing, the same thing that the Bengals were doing, which is trying to stop the run. If they stop the run, this Ravens team is going to need to be throwing the football, but not just throwing the football because they're in 3rd and 11, throwing the football because it's 1st and 10. They hit a hard play action and we hit those crossers. I said it when we got Derrick Henry. I've said it for years now. The best play in the NFL for a couple of years outside of the Derrick Henry screen pass, which is always very good, was the Derrick Henry and whatever receiver is running a crossing route off of hard play action. Used to be A.J. Brown. That's A.J. Brown built his career initially. He's a much better receiver than he was early in his career. But like that's how he really started getting going. Hard play action, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown cross over the middle because the linebackers are just drawn to Derrick Henry. And we saw it last week, and I was very happy because we started to do it. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, going on these crossers, on these hard play actions because the linebackers will abandon the middle. And if they stop abandoning the middle, then you hand it off. And Derrick Henry gets 3 to 4 yards before he's even contacted, and he's able to fall forward and get you 6 yards. That is the benefit Derrick Henry brings to you. That is the benefit that this passing game has seen in these last couple of weeks is Derrick Henry is drawing the defense, and he's still able to produce because Lamar Jackson has been very good in play action situations. And when teams are blitzing to try and stop the run, Lamar Jackson is getting it out quickly because he knows what his progressions are and which players to hit in each situation. He's not taking a lot of sacks. He's not trying to force the ball too much. The Ravens just need to focus on staying on schedule and keeping the defense off balance, because if the Ravens are in 3rd and 2, they can throw, they can run. If the Ravens are in 2nd and 5, they can throw, they can run. It's when the Ravens get into 2nd and 14, 3rd and 12. That's when they become one-dimensional, and it becomes much easier to cover a guy like Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman when you know you don't have to worry about the run. I love the screen game. I think that could be a big aspect tonight. But really, the biggest thing I'm paying attention to is how do the Ravens manipulate the Tampa Bay linebackers and interior defensive line and try and exploit them whichever way it is, whether it's running the football or throwing over the middle. One of them should be open. That's kind of my keys to the game. I do want to get into kind of my bold predictions. Obviously, we like to do it before every game. My bold prediction on the defensive side of the ball, I would say, is that we get our first ever Nate Wiggins interception on Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to be risky. Baker Mayfield likes to try some, difficult throws. He can make difficult throws as well. I'm not saying Baker's going to have a bad game. I think he'll play pretty well, but I think Nate Wiggins in coverage on a guy like Chris Godwin could get the better of him on, a certain set. Not saying he's going to absolutely clamp and dominate all game. I just think he's going to get his first career interception. I think it's going to be a big play for this Ravens defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go out and I'm going to say that Lamar Jackson once again throws for 300 yards. And I think that's because of the success of this Ravens rushing attack. The play action is going to be on, and I think he's going to have, 300 yards passing. But I think Derrick Henry's still going to get some rushing yards. I don't think it'll be 150. I think he'll get probably right around 100. But I think that's going to be enough for the Baltimore Ravens to get the victory. They just need to make sure that they're staying balanced, staying on schedule, and not having bad turnovers, because the last couple of games, the Ravens have had some bad turnovers. Lamar Jackson last week throws to Mark Andrews, not a perfect pass, very catchable pass, goes off Mark Andrews' hands, gets intercepted. That was a really difficult play on the first drive, and hopefully Mark Andrews bounced back. We saw him score the touchdown. We saw him have kind of some big catches last week, so hoping that it's going to be good. And then the week before that against the Bengals, we had the botched snap in overtime, as well as the dropped snap that Lamar Jackson was able to recover and throw that great touchdown to Isaiah Likely. But we need to make sure that the snaps are under control, that Lamar Jackson and this Ravens team are having crucial mistakes and turning the football over. They've been playing great football. The coaches have been doing a really good job, especially the coordinators. They just got to make sure they go out there and execute. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow with a recap, reaction, and discussion about the game. And hopefully the Ravens are sitting at 5-2.